welcome back to A Little Literary Love. I'm Shelby. I'm glad you all are with me today. So the lighting might be a little bit different. I normally use like actual sunlight, daylight, natural light, whatever to film my videos, but it is very rainy outside, and now that it's basically winter, the sun hides and goes to sleep before I get home, like so early. So it's really made filming and trying to get pictures for like my Instagram for my posts that I do in there, it's made it really hard because I'm never home when there's actually natural light for me to do all that. So it's very annoying. But anyway, so I actually have my ring light out right now. I haven't gotten that thing out in a while. Yeah, I figured that we would do that just to help me have some lighting so that I could film for y'all today. This is going to be my end of November wrap up. All the books that I read in November, there were some really good ones. I was definitely prioritizing BIPOC authors. I read several of them, and I still have a ways to go to be able to finish the 23 for 23 initiative. If you don't know about that, I will try to remember to leave a link down to the website down in the description box. But basically it's just this initiative to try to read 23 books by the end of 2023 written by BIPOC authors about BIPOC characters. So trying to help myself diversify my reading and hopefully discover some really great and new favorite authors. So we're gonna get right into it with the books that I read, starting off with A Caribbean Heiress in Paris. This is by Adriana Herrera. This is a historical romance, and this is about Luzalana and her friends. They are coming to Paris for a exposition, like a world exposition, and she is going there in hopes of expanding her family's rum business. She is a businesswoman and she has an inheritance in the company. But in order for her to claim this inheritance, because of like the board that's a part of the company, she must get married, and it basically becomes her husband's part and shares in the company, and if he chooses to allow her to continue to take part, he can. So Luzalana is very upset about this, does not like this plan. But she wants to help her family and her family's business. And then she runs into this Earl who also needs to get married for his own design. So something that's going on with his family. So I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. It was very good, but I felt like some of the plot points got a little bit convoluted. I feel like the romance bit of this fell a little bit flat for me between our hero and our heroine. I really liked our heroine. She is definitely a badass, strong female character, and I love that, especially in a historical romance, and most especially because this character is from, I want to say, Dominican Republic. I could be wrong on that, I can't remember, but she's Latina, so I love seeing that in a historical romance kind of setting too. But yeah, the hero just kind of fell flat for me. He was keeping secrets from her, and I just didn't really care for some of the plot revolving him. Steam on this is going to be like medium high. There is also a marriage of convenience because they do end up getting married to help support each other. So not a bad one, but not my favorite. Then I read An Island Princess Starts a Scandal, which is the second book of like this series that Adriana Herrera has created. This one I really liked. So this is a sapphic romance. This is about Manuela, and she is also in Paris for this exposition, and she is there to have basically like one last summer of fun and freedom before she is forced to marry this guy that she does not love. She is, I believe she's lesbian, if I'm remembering correctly. So she does not love this man that she's supposed to get married to, and she's also an artist and she likes to paint. So I remember she's at some gallery, I think, and she ends up running into Cora, who is our other protagonist of this story. Cora is I think she's a duchess, maybe, living in Paris. She is widowed, and she is also this like businesswoman, business savvy, strong kind of character, and she wants to buy some land that Manuela and her family own, because it kind of helps. It's in the middle of this like railway that's being built that Cora has like a stake in, I guess. So she wants to buy this land so this railway can continue to go through this land. So they decided they make a deal so that Manuela, it will sell her this land if Cora helps to just like show her around and show her these experiences, because Cora is also low-key kind of known for like loving women, or at least knowing other women that love women. And Paris, you know, it's Paris, so things are a little bit more like laissez-faire, a little bit more risque, and that's okay kind of vibes. So yes, she wants Cora to show her around and show her a good time. So yes, I gave this one 4 stars. Again, Adriana Herrera knows how to write a strong female character. So the fact that this story has 2 very strong female characters, I absolutely loved. I believe I listened to this on audio, so I know sometimes I end up missing a few things, but I think both of these characters are BIPOC, or like at least have ancestry, whereas Manuela is from Venezuela, one of those. But it was just, it was so good. There was just like, there were so many moments that were just so heartfelt and heartbreaking, especially because they are women. Number one, women, not to mention that they are minority, but they are women in a patriarchal society. So trying to navigate that, but then on top of that, also trying to navigate that they love each other, and you know, whatever, women wanting to own business, that's one thing, but a woman wanting to be with another woman was absolutely unheard of. So the fact that they're trying to navigate both of those things in a society that does not agree with either of those, was just, it was so hard for them. I just felt so much for them. Steam on this is going to be medium high, and I really liked this one, and I believe there's another friend who's a doctor, so I'm hoping that Adriana Herrera will do another book about that friend, and I'm very much interested in reading that one as well. Then I read Office Hours by Katrina Jackson. This is a contemporary romance. This is a kind of more of a workplace romance. It's about these 2 professors at a college, and they both kind of have a crush on each other, but they don't know that the other one has a crush on the other one, and they get paired on this like committee that, whatever, there's committees and blah blah blah. So they both get paired on this, and then they find out that they both have a crush on each other, and they start secretly like dating, even though they're not supposed to be dating. And this was just, I don't know, it was super cute. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I liked how into each other they were. I felt a lot for our heroine because she gets a lot of stuff pushed onto her, but she feels like she has to do all this extra work, and she has all this other stress because of all of that, because she doesn't want to lose her position because she is a Black woman, and she also is like newer, I think, in like academia. So she just kind of like accepts everything that gets tossed her way, and he's like, no, that's not okay for you to be doing that. So I like all the care that he gives her, and it was really cute. I really like this one. I've read one Katrina Jackson book before, and I didn't really care for it. Like, some of the writing was just meh for me. So I did this one on audio, so I'm wondering if that might be the way to go, because I really like this one and I would like to read more Katrina Jackson. Steam on this is going to be high, and yeah, that one was fun. Then I read Heart Haunt Havoc by Freydis Moon. This is a fantasy with some romantic elements. It's hard to describe what this book is about. We have Colin, who is a kind of like a ghost hunter per se, or exorcist. So anyway, he gets this job to exorcise demons at this house. Bishop owns this house, but Bishop is keeping secrets from Colin about the origin of some of these ghosts and supernatural creatures that are in this house. And while the two of them are there, they both kind of have the hots for each other and kind of like start a thing together. So I give this one 3 stars. I just found this very hard for me to connect at all to this. I also didn't really feel like this had much of a romance to it, or much of like a love story. I just really didn't connect with it at all. We find out this is very much for both of the characters. This is very much a story of grieving and healing and moving on. For, like I said, for both of these characters, you find out from them that they have lost loves in the past. So I think part of that's why they like got together. But yeah, I don't know, this wasn't for me. I just really struggled with this one. It was very short. It's much more of like novella length, so I got through it pretty quickly, but I don't know, I just didn't really care for this one. This one does have good representation. It's from a BIPOC author. I think this author is non-binary, maybe. And then both of the characters, Colin is trans, and then Bishop is non-binary. So I like the representation, but I just felt like the execution, the story just kind of wasn't there for me. And then Steam on this was very minimal, like low to none. It's like more like closed door kind of scene. So if you like that, cool. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Then I read Kingdom by WS Greer. This is a contemporary romance. This is about a girl who loves reading smutty romance, and her favorite author releases a new book, and her friends get her tickets to go see him, and actually see him and like go to like a signing, an event that he's going to be at, and they get VIP tickets so that she will get to be in this group that actually gets to talk to him. And in doing so, she meets him and he asked her out. So that's kind of more like surface level of what this book is about. The author of this book is very much into BDSM. That's what a lot of his books are about, and our heroine wants to get more involved in BDSM, and she craves it, so they start this kind of relationship. However, he is also keeping some secrets from her. So I debated on my rating of this. I thought about giving it like a 3, maybe a 3.5. I ended up bumping it up to a 4 because I did appreciate where this author was coming from. The kinks in here for the BDSM is very, very much sadism, masochism, which is not really my cup of tea, but I didn't want that to kind of detract from my rating. Just because it's not my favorite thing doesn't mean that it wasn't written well. The thing that I had issues with was our hero of this story. I really didn't like him. However, again, why I bumped it up to 4, he does do some good groveling in this and apologizing. So, and he did learn from the mistakes that he made. So I had to applaud him for that and applaud this author. Esteem on this is definitely going to be very high. This is another BIPOC author too. And this is actually a male wrote this. So I think that's really cool to have more men write romances, because men read romances too. So I was like pretty excited about that. So that'll be that one. And then I read Deadman Walking by Giana Darling. Now this one is going to be a reread for me. And I read this one because Giana Darling, I'm going to see my Fallen Men shirt that I am wearing, like out of the blue came back from her hiatus that she was on and is like, hey y'all, I'm announcing this book. And when she came back, it was like, yeah, it's going to be next week. And it was like November 28th, I think, that her next book of the series is going to drop, that I've been waiting for forever, when it was supposed to be released like a year ago or something. So I immediately jumped on this and reread this. This is the 6th book of the Fallen Men series. This is about Bia and Priest. Priest is the enforcer of the MC group, the Fallen Men. They are a motorcycle club, and Priest is very much a psychopath. And you learn that in this. Bia is the younger sister of the heroine from Welcome to the Dark Side, which is my all-time favorite book ever. So this is her younger sister, and her younger sister is, I think, in college. Like, she's graduated high school. She is very much infatuated by Priest, very much likes him, and she is going, I think she's going for like a psychology degree. So I think that's part of also what fascinates her, because she kind of like understands him a little bit better than anybody else. But then Bia also is getting threatened by some new like serial killer that's come to town, and so they are trying to investigate this because she's getting these gifts and threats from this person. But yeah, so I think I gave this like 3.5 stars. With my reread, and I listened to this on audio too, which was really great. I really highly recommend doing that. I bumped this up to 4.5 stars. I enjoyed this one so much more on my reread, mostly because of Bia. Bia might be one of my favorite heroines. Giana Darling just writes really great heroines in this series. She is such a strong character, and she is so sure of herself, and she knows what she wants. And there's certain things that she has said in here that I just really like resonate with me, and I absolutely love. I love how independent she is. She's very intelligent as well, which I'm so here for, and she knows what she wants. She wants Priest, and she doesn't really care what other people think of him, and she doesn't like that just because people don't really understand him, they don't like him and push him away and think that he's a bad guy, and she's not okay with that, and she definitely stands up for him. And there's also very, very kinky sex in here. There is knife play. There is an age gap in here as well. I'm pretty sure all of the books in the Fallen Men series have an age gap, which is probably part of the reason why I absolutely love this series, because age gap is one of my favorite tropes. So steam on this is gonna be high. Also, definite trigger warnings in this one. This is more of a dark romance because it is a motorcycle gang. There is a serial killer. There is a woman that she ends up getting, or Bia ends up getting body parts from this serial killer. So there's definitely violence, there is death in here, there is a kidnapping that happens as well, there is assault, lots and lots and lots and lots of trigger warnings, so just be warned of that. But yeah, this is my favorite series. It's so good. Then I read Her Night with the Duke by Diana Quincy, which I actually did a Target order when they were doing their like buy two get one free. I believe they had that deal going on like during Black Friday like week. So this is a historical romance, of course, and this is about a woman, and she is traveling and she's coming back home, and she gets stuck at this inn because there's like this rain storm kind of thing going on, and this guy ends up helping her, and she ends up having a one-night stand with this guy. And then once she goes home, she finds out that the guy that she had a one-night stand with is actually about to be engaged to her stepdaughter. Scandal. So I love this. I gave this one 4 stars. This is another BIPOC author, and this one is really important to me right now because this is actually a Palestinian author. This author is from Palestine, and I believe she's in America now. I'm gonna have to look. I'm telling y'all the wrong thing. Yes, she lives in Virginia now. Anyway, but she is from Palestine, and especially with everything going on with the genocide of Palestine, I wanted to try to support more authors, Palestinian authors. So this is one of the only romance authors, so I want to read more of her stuff, especially because this is amazing. I loved it. First of all, the fact that she's such a strong heroine, she's widowed, but that she's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna have sex with this guy that I just met and it's gonna be great. Like, she's so independent, and you find out that she was traveling and she was actually writing this like travel book about her travels, and it's become all the rage in London, and I'm just like on board for that. I absolutely loved that. And I loved that this is an Arab heroine. So she's in London and she's of color. And I loved like learning about her culture. And from how it's written in here is that she grew up in London, and then she wanted to, after her husband, and I think her parents died maybe, she wanted to visit family in Palestine, to learn more about where she's from. And so that's how she like describes like their culture, is from her perspective of like her also learning about it. And I thought that was really cool. I loved learning about her culture, and it was just it was so good. And then the romance was so cute. I did have a little bit issues because the romance got a little bit like angsty there, and angsty in a way that I don't necessarily enjoy, but I still gave it 4 stars because this heroine is probably one of my favorites. It was just, it was so great. I loved it. And then this is high steam too. It was really well written. I am definitely going to be checking out more Diana Quincy books. Yes, it was so good. Okay, and then the last book that I read for November, which I actually had like 50 pages left, maybe a little bit more, that I finished like the first day of December, but I read most of it in November. So you know what, by golly, I wanted to count it for November, and I am doing it because I do what I want. And that's going to be Caution to the Wind by Giana Darling. This is the newest release in the Fallen Men series, and I'm so happy that it is out. I immediately picked it up on the day that it was released and immediately started reading it. I put everything else to the side and solely focused on this one. So this is about May, who is a character that we did not know about before. May and Axeman. So Axeman is the treasurer, I think, of the Fallen Men, and him and his family had moved to Entrance, where this takes place. So this takes place after the events of Deadman Walking. Cleo is his adopted, or not really adoptive, but kind of adoptive daughter. And his daughter has been very brutally assaulted. So Cleo, his daughter, wants her best friend to come back. So her and her best friend have kind of been estranged over the past like 8 years, and her best friend is May. And part of why they have become estranged is for so many reasons. But May basically grew up with their family, and she has had a huge crush and has been in love with Henning, I think is actually his name, Axeman, basically. Has had a huge crush on him and has been in love with him since she was a little girl. And after, it's kind of like cemented after she watched the murder of Cleo's mom. So Henning and Cleo's mom got married. You know, Cleo was maybe like 8 or so at the time, so biologically she's not his daughter, but he, in all intents and purposes, she is his daughter. So her mom was killed and he just kind of took over raising her. Anyway, so her mom was killed. And May was there to witness this, and this had a profound impact on her. And she decided, it had a profound impact on Henning as well. So they kind of both like split apart and took this in 2 different ways. May decided to infiltrate the Chinese triad, who were the people that murdered Cleo's mom, and tries to join up with them and infiltrate them from the inside to bring them down. Whereas Henning decides to join the Fallen Men MC, which is a rival to the Chinese triad, to help to try to bring them down. So this kind of stems in a big conflict between the 2 of them. So this starts off as a friends, sort of, even though there's like a huge age gap. Like they got each other when she was younger, so they started off as friends, and then they kind of become enemies. Although the whole enemies thing, I think, is a bit of a stretch. It's a little bit more of like a miscommunication there, and him just being butthurt, in my opinion, and then becoming lovers. So this is definitely a slow burn. Definitely a slow burn one. But when you get to the steamy scenes, it is very explosive. That kind of like hate to love kind of steamy scene. So I gave this 4 stars. This one isn't my favorite of the series, but I did very much enjoy it. I love Giana Darling's writing. I really liked the chemistry between these 2 characters. Like I said, I just kind of didn't really care for some of the whole enemies thing, because they weren't really enemies, and I don't know, I didn't really get that vibe. He just hurt over something that she didn't do, and there was some kind of miscommunication there, which anyway, esteem on this is going to be high once you do get to it, you know. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one, but this one definitely made me anxious and really want the next book of this series, which is going to be a while before we're going to get. But in the back of this book, Giana did put a thing that since she was in her hiatus and alone, she did write like 5 books that are all of them are ready to be published. So she's got a new one that's going to be coming in January that she hasn't like officially announced to everybody yet, but in this book she says she's got one that's coming out in January, and then she has a trilogy that's coming out next year that has to do with her Moretti family. her other like series that are all kind of connected. She's got a trilogy that's going to be coming out, and then in 2025 is when we will get the 8th book of the Fallen Men series. And I need it to be 2025 now because I cannot wait for that. I've been seeing so much speculation online about what number 8 is going to be about, and I have my fingers crossed that it'll be good. I have like my theories too of what it'll be about, but then she's also like, you know, I like to surprise you all. I don't like to go by anything. I'm like, oh, Giana, just tell us what it is. I need to know. I'm so excited for it. Anyway, but yeah, enough ranting about that. That's gonna be all the books that I read for November. Trying to continue to get through all of my BIPOC author books. Hopefully I'll be able to read 23, but if not, I'm still happy with myself that I am trying to bring awareness to myself and do better with reading more diversely. But yeah, leave a comment down below with some of your favorite books that you read in November. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it, you guys, and I will see you all the next one. Bye, guys.